This baby was born without arms or legs, but the real horror in his life only began after he was completely alone. From the moment he was born, Lucas had to fight to survive in a world that didn't seem made for him. But his parents always protected him, making sure he never lacked love. To them, he was perfect. Until in the blink of an eye, everything fell apart. A tragic accident took his parents' lives, and that's when the nightmare began. First, his relatives promised to take care of him, but little by little, they started to disappear. First, they stopped visiting. Then they ignored his calls until one day they simply discarded him like a burden and sent him to a dark orphanage where no one wanted children like him. For years, Lucas was forgotten. No one asked about him. No one cared. It was as if he had never existed. But how could this happen? How could people be so cruel as to abandon a defenseless child? Well, as we said, this is not just a story, but a true event that happened in Bulgaria. In fact, we already told you about another similar case, the story of a girl abandoned by her own mother who gave her up for adoption because she was born with a rare disease. Fortunately, there were people with a heart who welcomed her and gave her all the love she deserved. But unfortunately, this is not the case for everyone. It turns out that in the country, there are many children who live in very difficult conditions, especially those with disabilities who often end up abandoned and alone. As in the case of little Lucas, who despite being a fighter, has had to face more obstacles than any other child. As you can imagine, growing up without arms or legs is extremely difficult, but with a lot of love and care, it is possible to have a normal childhood and enjoy life. Unfortunately, this was not the case for Lucas, who after being abandoned by his family had to move from one foster family to another without ever finding a place to call home. It was during his adolescence that he realized that he was different from the other children, that he did not have arms or legs, and that he could not do the same things as them. He felt sad, angry, and desperate, believing that his life had no meaning. But despite all the pain he endured, Lucas never lost hope of one day having a family who loved him and accepted him for who he was. After his parents died, his relatives took him in, but they did not want to take care of him. They only wanted to use him for money. They exploited him, mistreated him, and abandoned him at the first sign of trouble. When he was 10 years old, he was sent to a boarding school where the conditions were terrible. There were not enough beds for everyone, so some students had to sleep on the floor. The food was barely enough for everyone, so hunger was a constant problem. Also, teachers did not care about their students and often beat them for no reason. At the age of 18, he ran away from home, but soon had to return because he had nowhere else to go. His relatives continued to mistreat him until he decided to take extreme measures. When he turned 21, Lucas decided to take his own life. But fortunately, he was saved in the nick of time. After that event, no one wanted to take care of him. They all considered him a burden. Some thought he was strange, others feared he would bring bad luck. Everyone treated him badly except for a few kind people who offered him their friendship and support. They helped him get a job, find a place to live, and overcome his personal problems. Thanks to them, Lucas managed to reintegrate into society and become an independent young man. Today, the young man lives in his own apartment, works as a security guard, and has many friends. He also has a girlfriend who loves him very much and accepts him for who he is. Lucas is grateful for all the support he has received throughout his life and tries to pay it forward by helping other people with disabilities. He believes that everyone deserves a chance to be happy and have a better future. What do you think of this story? We wait for you in the comments. See you next time.